Welcome, everyone. This is Naomi Hirahara, your moderator for today's exciting hour-long program. So we're going to start off with a live murder mystery with authors playing their amateur sleuths. And there's going to be a prize for the audience member who correctly guesses who did the dirty deed, who killed the person. And after that, we're going to have our conventional panel and just explore how these authors created their protagonists. So we're so glad for all of you to be here. And without further ado, we will start our murder mystery. Hello there, everyone. This is HB, short for Honestly Beautiful, O'Hara, with my friend MF. And I want to welcome you to my Sacramento mansion. There's a lot of trapdoors and secret passageways, so be careful. But I am so glad to host this afternoon tea / happy hour for our amateur sleuths. So let's see who's going to be the first to arrive. Could that be? Is that Dell? The news person, the newsman from, it's Dell Verhalden. Dell, how are you?
I'm doing great. Now, where's the bar? I heard there was going to be an open bar at this party.
Dell, first, before you go, I know you've come a long way from the 1960s, but I need good coverage. I want this to be on the front page. I want this above the fold. You understand, don't you, Dell?
I do, and I'm always looking for a scoop. So give me some news, and I'll make sure it makes the front page.
Thank you. And Dell, I know that you're in the BoucherCon anthology this year. The Last Call of Zanzibar is the short story. Congratulations, Dell.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Who do I see? Who do I see next? Oh, could it be? Is it Mace? Is it Mace Peterson? Mace, I know you've come all the way from the East Coast. What's going on here?
I enjoy small talk, but honestly, I'm on the run from sex traffickers and also probably my ex-wife. So this isn't the best time.
Oh, Mace, but I thought you were into security.
Yeah, internet security. It's not the same thing.
Oh, I see. Well, Mace, I know that you're very busy in your novel, They're Gone, but congratulations on your recent release. Okay, so who do we have next? Oh, thank goodness, it's Robbie Bradford from Money Grab. Robbie, are you there?
Whoa, here I am.
Robbie, I need to talk to you. This is all in confidence, but I know you're a financial planner or whatever you do. It's regarding money, but
It's money.
I'm having some financial problems and I need your help.
Okay, well, maybe we can get over to the side during your party and you can fill me in on what's going on.
Okay. Well, and just enjoy yourself. Now, who's that's coming? Oh, all the way from the wilderness. It's Maeve Malloy from Alaska.
Hey, how are you?
You poor thing. I don't know how you could live in such a place.
I'm freezing. It's very cold.
And then you're a lawyer. Like, what does a lawyer do in Alaska? Like, represent polar bears?
Walruses, black bear, brown bear, moose. Quite a bit of moose work.
Well, I know your latest was Hell and High Water, but, have a good time here in the house, back in civilization.
Thank you so much. It's good to be around cars again.
Okay, and then who's next? Oh, it's Van Shaw.
Hey, HB. Hey, there was a prowl car outside on the street. I hope you don't mind, so I let myself in through the skylight.
Van, your face, the
Oh.
scars.
Yeah, this is a disguise. I got to come. The scars are a little distinctive, so I needed the beard to disguise myself. A little job later on tonight after midnight.
Van, this is a secret, confidentially. I can recommend you to a cosmetic surgeon to get rid of all those scars.
Oh, I got a good barber too.
And business has been well with you?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's tax deductible, but it's been good.
Well, we are awaiting our teacher, and I'm hoping that she'll come any minute. If she's out there and you're in the chat, please identify yourselves and we'll find you. Okay, so myself and my little buddy will be going off to get some wine. So if you all can just go and wander around, have fun, and I'll see you soon.
Nice digs.
Oh my
Who's that?
gosh.
Oh, wow. Huh. So she
Was that
said she
sound?
wanted, wow, she said she wanted to get in the newspapers. I got to get a picture of this. So, uh-oh.
I can't
Is she
believe that
alive?
dog did that.
The
Yeah.
dog did it. Yep, the dog did it.
Maybe they're fighting over the Maltese Falcon, huh?
Yeah,
The
well,
dog
do you
stuck
think,
around too. A cat would be smart enough to flee the scene, at least.
Yeah.
A cat would still be eating her face.
yeah. Oh, yeah. What, do you think we should call 911 or just sit here and drink up all her fabulous wine?
Oh, no cops, please, no cops.
No cops.
I vote for the wine. I managed to get my glass right after she went down. How about the rest of you? Were you able to get your libations?
I actually took her wine just
Oh,
now.
you took coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, I was too busy calling the city desk and letting them know about this huge scoop of possible murder at the mansion.
Well, this is what I'm worried about is that we were the only people around and she's dead. And if the dog didn't do it, who did?
Hmm,
I guess that means it must have been one of us.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Wow. I hate to think that's possible among all you wonderful people.
So Mace, what's your story? Where were you?
Well, there are a lot of people after me right now, and I was hiding under my desk. So it's unlikely it could have been me. I don't want to point fingers, but I haven't seen Heather Ash anywhere.
Or Heather Young. I mean, there's Heathers and Heathers here, and one of the Heathers must have done it.
Like I said, I really don't want to point fingers, but Francis, Robbie, it really seems like it's probably you.
Why would you think it's me?
Well, you haven't come up with a story yet.
Well, I was out making a client call and getting my beverage. And while I was gone, all of this happened. But I would say that while I was getting my beverage, I heard some jazz piano music drifting up from the room where HB had gone. And I think there's only one person in the group that plays jazz piano, and that is Dell.
Well, okay, but that could have been, I wasn't anywhere near the place because I was running out to find a payphone to call in my story because in my era, as far as I'm concerned, it's 1960, and cell phones have not been invented in my world, and I have to run out and find a payphone to call the city desk and let them know about this fabulous story that I just came about. So, no, I think it must. I'm convinced it must be Maeve because she's does not want to have to go back to Alaska in the worst way. She wants to stay in sunny California and drink up all the California wine. And, it's obviously her.
Well,
It wasn't
may
me. I
have
was shopping
something
for
there.
earrings. I don't get to shop much up here, so I hit the mall.
You may have something with Maeve because she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
You're a lawyer, and HB had told me that she was having some financial problems, and I think part of her problems were tied to a big real estate investment that she was making, and Maeve was the lawyer that was handling all the legal paperwork for that transaction. So could it be, Maeve, that you bungled some of the paperwork and HB found out and was going to let everybody know what a disaster you had created, and you killed her so she couldn't tell us?
Well, I can explain what was going on with the transaction, the real estate transaction. It wasn't my fault at all. What happened is the people that were supposed to put up the money, it turned out that they really didn't have it, that they were full of hot air, and the buyer that was a friend of mine, this little old lady that lives out in a log cabin, she was okay with it because then she could save the property for her grandkids. So no, it was everybody's copacetic. We're cool. Sorry.
Well, then, my next thought is that possibly it was Mace. Because Mace, you are in computer security, right? You're an IT specialist?
Yes, but I'm not very good.
Okay, well, as I said, she was very worried about her finances. I think it's possible that you had hacked into her financial accounts and had been siphoning off her money, and that's why she was so worried about her finances. And when she confronted you about it, you killed her.
Much of that makes sense, but as embarrassed as I am to admit this, I don't know how to do any of that.
Wait. Freeze. This is HB from the dead. It's mighty hot out here. But now I want all these people, all these terrible, terrible people, they have all their theories, but we want to hear the audience theories. Oops. Sorry about that. So now at our chat, right now, everyone in the chat, from this point on, make your official guesses, and just one per person, on who killed me. And you could start that now.
Okay, well, I know who did it because I'm the smart reporter and I know everything, and I always get the scoop and get it on the front page. So I know who did it. So there.
Who do you think did it, Del?
Who do I think? Well, I think we are all in unanimity that it's the missing Heather. Who else could it be?
Who else has their theories here?
Is Heather the invisible woman?
Yeah, there you go. She snuck in and we didn't even know it.
Yeah, I mean, we were only gone not for very long at all. But who's this Heather person? I haven't seen her.
Well, it was Nora Wheaton. She's, a teacher with some issues of the distant dead. Instant dead, that must be a clue. But okay, enough of this. We will end it here. We'll end this portion here. And I will announce who killed me. It is that terrible, terrible reporter, Dale Van Herden.
No.
Dale was going to, I brought my dear friend with me and to confront her. And she told me that she was writing about my financial problems and my plastic surgery on her paper. And we tussled and she pushed me down. I hit my head against the wall and she killed me.
Okay, so now that I've turned into a female, I will actually do that and get out of this disguise and become a girl again.
I knew it was either you or Robbie, Maeve, or Van.
I still say it was Heather.
That's very perceptive of you, Mace.
And now I will tear off my beard and remove my disguise. No. I won't, no.
Oh my.
Hey, Ed, by the way.
Ah, you did that.
Yeah. I got it after I haven't had time to read it because I've got a manuscript due in 40 hours. But I bought it when we were at the same event the other week.
Right. Oh, thanks, man. You don't have to read it. I just only want people to buy it.
I know. You just want the robe.
Yep, that's it.
Sleep's totally overrated anyway.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for playing along. I just thought we have Zoom fatigue. We need to mix it up a little. So thanks to all my fellow panelists who came along beside me. So my name is Naomi Hirahara, and also known as Honestly Beautiful HB. Actually, that's the literal meaning of my first name, Naomi, in Japanese. But I'm the author of many different series with Amateur Sleuths, but probably most known for my Masarai series, which is a Japanese-American gardener, a Hiroshima survivor who solves crimes. And next we'll go to Dell, not Dell, but Joyce Krieg, and go down the line. Okay. We have to skip, unfortunately, Heather, but you guys know how it works.
Right. Yeah, I'm Joyce Krieg, and I'm basically here because a short story that I wrote that does feature my newspaper reporter, Delver Halden, in the Bouchercon anthology, which is supposed to be, well, originally it was supposed to be available at the Hyatt and the Sheraton in Sacramento. But my understanding at this point is that the publisher is going to release it on November 1st, and it'll be available for sale on November 1st. So I wrote a short story called Last Call at the Zanzibar, and does feature Dell solving, getting involved in a criminal activity sort of thing in Sacramento in the 1950s. And some of you real long timers in the audience, if my name sounds vaguely familiar, I was the winner of the St. Martin's Press Best First Traditional Mystery Contest back in 2003, and had 3 mysteries published by St. Martin's, Murder Off Mike, and a couple of others, featuring a radio talk show host who was also based in Sacramento. So that's me. And I'm supposed to toss it to who's the number 2 here?
Okay. You all could figure it out. You all just jump in when it's your turn.
Okay, jump in.
So it's Ed.
Yeah, so I'm Ed Aymar. My name's not vaguely familiar to you. My novel, The Unrepentant, came out last year, and it's up for an Anthony later tonight under the paperback category. And my next novel, They're Gone, is coming out in November of this year through Crooked Lane. And I'm a novelist and columnist based in the DC metro region.
I guess, are you done? I'm up next. I'm Frances Aylor, and I wrote the book Money Grab, which is about financial analyst Robbie Bradford. And I am portraying Robbie in this skit. This is her office where she entertains her clients. Money Grab was my first novel. I spent a lot of years in investing as a professional investor. And so when I moved away from that, I moved to writing and brought all that financial knowledge and put it in here. I also have a short story that just came out in the most recent Malice Domestic anthology, Murder Most Theatrical. My story is The Rock Star. And I have a couple of other short stories that are being published in other anthologies. So that's who I am.
Oh, that's me. I'm Keenan Powell. I'm an attorney and I practice in Anchorage, Alaska. I did do criminal law for 10 years and I'm going to stick my toe back into it shortly. Criminal defense representing indigent accused, but principally I'm doing workers' comp now. I've done just about everything. And I write the Maeve Malloy Mystery Series. Here's my last book, Hell and High Water. And it's about a female criminal defense attorney in Anchorage, Alaska. Although she's younger than me, but I was young once, so I remember some of the stuff. So that's it about me. Oh, I have a number of short stories that are been released too, published.
And last and least, hi, I'm Glen Erik Hamilton. I am the author of the Van Shaw series of thrillers set in Seattle, Washington, my hometown. The latest is A Dangerous Breed, which came out in July from William Morrow. The series has done well. It won the first novel award for the Anthonys and a couple of other awards as well, including the McCavities and the Strand Magazine Critics Awards. And happy to say that the series continues, and book 6 is due in 40 hours from now on my editor's desk very soon. So sleep is low. So if I lapse into another language, which I do not speak, during this, you'll understand why. So,
Well, you have
Book 6, you got this.
you have 5 minds right here. Maybe we could all write a page for you.
Right, there we go. Fantastic. Yeah. Needless to say, I'm not taking in a lot of this conference yet. I'll get to go and watch it later. So.
Okay, my first question is one of my favorite writing books by Stephen King on writing. And he has a quote, "People love to read about work. God knows why, but they do." And then also one of my friends, the late Don Cannon, who frequented a lot of these mystery conferences, told me he loved amateur sleuth books because he could get kind of a peek into work. And I know not all of you write that traditional amateur sleuth type book, but I wanted to pose this question. I want to start actually with Frances, because you write the most kind of very specific occupation. And let's go with you and let's go down the line. And then after Glen will be Joyce. Go ahead.
Okay. So yes, I did write very specifically about work, and my protagonist is a female financial advisor in a very male-dominated industry. And in this book, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to write a really fun, intriguing story about a murder and bring the reader along with that. But I also threw in along the way just some little tidbits about investing, not anything really complicated like collateralized derivatives or anything like that, but little things like buy low, sell high. Trees don't grow to the sky. Don't get greedy. Sell your stocks when they're really high. And my thought was that people could be entertained by the story and pick up a couple of tidbits that might help them in their own personal investing.
Very good. Is that on to me?
No, Glen, don't butt in front of.
I'm putting in. I don't know what order we're going in, so sorry.
You're number 6.
Oh, we're still going in that order. Okay, got it.
Yes, Keenan, go for it.
Okay, so we're talking about our protagonist,
Like work.
Work. Okay, so she's a criminal defense attorney, and in the first book, she has been appointed to represent an indigent accused who's going to trial in 3 weeks in a murder case and he refuses to waive his right to speedy trial. So she's got to pull this whole thing together. And what inspired it, actually, was a series of homeless deaths in Anchorage a few years before I got the idea for the book. And I figured out how someone could have done it. And then rather than create, you know, like a whole different protagonist, I just wrote what I knew. So I put it in a criminal defense attorney's office. And so the first one's a courtroom drama. Second one, she's investigating the disappearance of a friend of hers. And the third one, she's trying to pretend she's not a lawyer, but she gets stuck in the middle of a murder case anyway.
Now it's your turn.
Now it's me. All right, fantastic. So Van is a former professional thief and still has the chops, and also a former Army Ranger, as it happens. I'm neither of those things, but like to write about them in great detail. So I do a lot of homework. I try not to make it a how-to on how to commit burglaries, but I do like to include a lot of fun factoids, and those are the parts of the books that really resonate. So Stephen King's line about people liking to read about work, especially if it's illegal work, really holds.
So who's up next? Am I up next?
You.
Yeah, I totally agree of the idea of being able to live vicariously by reading a mystery set in some type of work that sounds interesting or intriguing to us. You know, it's one of the big reasons people read mysteries, I think, is just to explore different worlds, whether it's a different job setting or a different town, a different country. That's one of the real fun things about mysteries, that, in my opinion. My first detective was a talk radio host, because I had worked in talk radio for years and years. And then and before that, I also worked as a newspaper reporter. So my latest project, you know, is entering that field. And for us writers, it's a fun way for us to share our own life experiences and our own background and what we've learned and what we've observed. So it you know, it works both ways, both for the reader and the writer.
So with the Unrepentant, it was a book about sex trafficking, and I mean that was really the backbone of it. And with my research in that, there was a lot that I wanted to unpack in the novel, and tying that into work. There's one point where there's a conversation between a pimp and an advocate, somebody who's trying to stop sex traffickers. And it really delves into the philosophy of sex work, which is something that I really didn't have before I started. I changed my opinion of it, but I didn't really have a firm understanding of how I felt, really, given all the research I did. So this was a chance to really use occupations to explore the philosophy behind that, and the philosophy and the sort of that guides the novel.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I know I'm friends on Twitter with people who, represent the rights of sex workers, you know, so there's a lot of different opinions. So, so you were able to kind of explore the nuances of all that, I imagine.
And it's hard, right? It's hard to really get the nuance, especially on Twitter. The only reason I mention that is one time when I was more vocal on Twitter about this stuff, Nico Case, who's one of my favorite singers, my wife and I danced to one of her songs at our wedding, told me to fuck off. So ever since then, I've just been like, you know what? I'll just save it for the books.
I want to remind everyone, if you have a question, you can leave it in the chat. I guess we don't have a Q&A section here. So just, put it in. Do me a favor, if you have a question, do it all in caps, you know, like a crazy person. So that will
Yell at us. You got to yell.
Yeah. Okay, so if you write a series, how do you avoid the Jessica Fletcher syndrome? And if you write more standalones, what challenges do you face in making your scenario and characters realistic? I mean, you kind of talked about that a little bit, Ed. But for this one, I want to start with Keenan. Like
with Jessica
over there
Fletcher.
in Alaska. So school us. I think some people in this room are from Alaska because they're giving us the temperatures. What, it's 30 degrees right now. But educate us. You know,
Okay. This is The Last Frontier, and it's a violent it's a violent place. And actually, there's quite a bit of murder, and there are several defense attorneys who specialize in murder cases. So that and we have, 800,000 people, so there's plenty of people to kill. So we could drop a body a day, and it would be plausible. Not a problem.
is there any popular, I mean, is it the typical thing, guns? Is the
Mostly guns, a lot of domestic violence, and then some weird stuff. Yeah.
Okay, well,
There's a big drug industry up here in Anchorage, particularly. And then there's some hunting accidents.
Wait, did you say a big what? Did you say juggalo?
Drug industry.
Oh, drug industry. My audio is
Yeah.
weird. It's like they're
Juggalos would be much more fun.
Yeah. Somebody's commenting lots of drugs and alcohol related stuff. Yeah, like I think if you took away the drugs and alcohol, 80% of the murders wouldn't have occurred.
Mhm.
And that would just leave the weird stuff.
okay, Glenn?
Yeah, it's mine's set in the major metropolitan area of Seattle, and it has a lot of advantages. It has a lot of shipping. It's near a border. For all of that, Seattle's not a high crime or high mayhem city, except when I get my hands on it. And then there tends to be a lot of things exploding. But for the most part, yeah, Seattle's, the advantage of being in a big city is that I can at least lean on the excuse that, well, you got a couple million people, things are going to happen along the way. But most of the crimes in Seattle, as you might expect, are tech related or smuggling related, or that's if it's there, that's what the crime is, right? It's less about, for the most part, drugs and alcohol, and more about white collar theft, which is not nearly as thrilling as what I write. So generally speaking.
Well, if I could, I don't know if I'm next in line or not, but I would just to throw in here that, the idea of a pastry chef or a nun solving a murder, it just does not happen. And, even newspaper reporters, maybe they get somewhat involved in, solving crimes or exposing what's going on. So it's that suspension of disbelief. And I used to teach a class on writing mysteries with the UC Extension, and I used to tell the people in the class that, your readers have already made this huge leap of, suspending disbelief that a pastry chef is going to be solving crimes. So therefore, everything else in your book has to make logical sense, because they've already, bought into this thing that just isn't going to happen, and so like I say, then everything else has to make sense. Otherwise, this story is just not going to work.
Well, with a financial advisor, as the person who is the amateur detective, financial advisors can have clients all over everywhere, all over the U.S., even in foreign locations. And I have a lot of friends who currently do have clients and in other locations. And right now they're doing a lot of Zoom calls, talking to everybody. So by having my my financial analyst have all different kinds of clients in all different kinds of situations, I can avoid that Jessica Fletcher when we're in the small town and we start killing everybody off, because every story can go to a totally different location, a totally different family, a totally different plot with the central focus holding it all together being Robbie Bradford, the financial advisor.
And Ed?
Yeah, I haven't stumbled, upon a series idea that I've wanted to really embrace, and I'm envious of people who write series because I admire them. I like to read them, but I find that with the standalones, I need to incorporate some. It needs to be in a shared universe. All of my books have elements that have occurred. Well, there's two, but they both have elements that occurred in the other. So I think that's important for me as a writer to make sure that remains, and it gives me something to an identity to cling to, because it's also you try to establish your voice, and you try to establish, I hate this term, but your brand sort of for readers, that I think is easier to do with a series. With standalones, they can change from book to book to book, and it's really just the prose, I think, that brings people back, plus the similarity of theme. But I find that as a writer, I need that too.
Okay, I'm gonna break in and ask a few questions. One was Carol, and Carol, I saw your question. Would you personally try to solve a crime? Is the question. And Ed, let's not do this by order. It just we all know each other now, so just time.
I think it depends highly on the crime. I think violent drug cartel homicide. No, I'm not going near that along the way. Who stole the silverware at the party? Yeah, I'll work on that one. Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea. Plus, in my book, I do bring the police in, and my protagonist does have a love interest who is a newspaper reporter, and so there's the opportunity to bring other types of skills into the solving of the crime. But would I do it myself? I think I'm kind of right there with Glen. I would work on the silver, not so much on the drug cartel.
Yeah, there are a lot of writers, especially male writers, who mistakenly, confuse themselves with their characters, and I'm not one of those. I am very aware of my limitations, and I think the problem, when you write thrillers, one of the big problems is how to convince, how to make your character not just run to the police, or if they run to the police, how does that not work out for them? So, but if it was me, I'm going right to the cops. It's silverware or drug cartel.
Right. Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. If it was something personal, yeah, I might get involved, but anything that had the slightest bit of danger or ickiness, it's like the cops can do it. That's why they're there. That's why we pay our taxes.
Actually, when I was a reporter at a Japanese American newspaper in Los Angeles when I was younger, and we all had to cover different kind of beats. So I did cover the crime beat, and mother, she's probably my age now, but she came because her daughter was missing. Her daughter was missing, had 2 kids, and she suspected her son-in-law. But the son-in-law had access, he had guardianship over the children. So they were really stuck. They didn't know what to do. And she was Japanese American. She kind of wanted me as a reporter to kind of shake the trees, and we did. And then she had hired an investigator to, find out where the daughter was. She thought the daughter was dead. And literally the investigator came to our newspaper office in a fedora. It was like so bizarre. But so, yeah, there's been some cases when I was younger when, it wasn't like we were trying to solve the crime, but we were trying to assist people who couldn't, they didn't have a body, so they couldn't really go to the police. So that's one thing that came to my mind. Someone.
When I was, it's okay?
Go
Tell
for
a story. When I first came up here, I met some of the local people, and one of them was an exotic dancer, and she told me that there were exotic dancers that were disappearing, and the police weren't doing anything about it, and she asked me to do something. I'm like, I don't know what to do. But the end of the story, and I didn't do anything. There was a guy named Robert Hansen that was abducting them and taking them out into the woods and shooting them after he tortured them for a while in his house. And he was found and convicted. They weren't onto him yet. But everybody, all the dancers and all the street people knew that this was going on, but the cops didn't believe him. It was made into a movie called Frozen Ground. With Nicolas Cage and John Cusack. And it was shot up here. So if you want to learn about our serial killer, we called him the Butcher Baker. Because, and I went into his bake shop once. And I was staring, I remember, I didn't meet him. I don't think I met him. But I did go into his bakery once. That's my claim to fame.
Sometimes I think we're just like 1 degree separated or 2 degrees separated from a serial killer.
Yeah.
You know, no, I'm not kidding. Yeah, I mean, anyway, especially in a place like Los Angeles. Okay.
Or Pacific Northwest. That seems to be the home.
Yeah. AJ asks, and this is kind of a follow-up to, we've kind of been touching upon it. How do you explain your sleuth not involving the police?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can answer that because I have a criminal defense attorney and who takes cases, and in the first book, she thinks her client's been accused and she believes he's got the wrong guy, so that's why she doesn't get the cops involved. In the second book was about the disappearance of a Native woman, and the cops were apathetic about it. And in the third book, she stalked in, and there were none kind of thing. She stalked in a remote community in a storm, and there are no cops, so she has to take it over. So that's how I did it.
In my books, authority is always questionable, so the characters tend to realize that as the story develops. So people in positions of authority are in my work are generally untrustworthy, and that includes, judges, cops, politicians, whoever it is. So it obviously it's nothing like real life.
My character Van, because of his background, has a tangled history with the law enforcement of all types. Tends to avoid them, not to trust them by nature, and also typically is investigating things or involved in things that involve his friends, who may themselves be on the wrong side of the law or may be seen to be on the wrong side of the law. And so to protect them, he won't drag them into the light.
Yeah, and with mine, with a newspaper reporter, he wants to get the scoop and he wants to be the one that breaks the case. So, he'll be somewhat of a maverick going off on his own. Or in my earlier books about the talk radio host, it was usually a case of, like Ed was saying, that the police can't be trusted, the judges are crooked, and they're all for one reason or another, or they've given up. They've gone as far as they can go with it and decided it's a dead end, and so therefore my amateur sleuth has to get involved and solve the case.
Before we continue, I think I better pick a winner, right? So. The first 3 to guess Dell as a killer. So I'm giving them numbers. Number 1 was Stephanie Scott Snyder. Number 2 was Donna. I think it's Braswell. Number 3 is Kim K. Line. But you all don't win. Just only one of you win. And then I'm picking a number here. So let's see. Which number 1? It's number 1. So that is Stephanie Scott Snyder. So you're going to win a book from me, and then anyone else in this group who wants to send you one. So just let's see. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. So give me your address, and we'll send you some books. So congratulations. Oh, I want you all to be thinking think of an amateur sleuth that you like, that you feel doesn't get much recognition, or maybe people have forgotten about, or has an unusual occupation. And I'll start. I wanted to give kudos to Barbara Saranella, who had the amateur sleuth who was a mechanic, a female woman mechanic.
Munch Mancini.
Yes, Munch.
Mancini. Yeah, that was a great series.
It was a great series, and we've lost Barbara, but just I loved that character. So, and I think it's a great occupation, and it also shows a woman, and that also Barbara was a mechanic as well. So I believe, and she knew this well. Anyone else want to chime in?
I'll give a shout out to my former writing teacher, Geraldine Farmer, who wrote the Madeline Bean mysteries along the way. And I always thought that a great premise is Madeline is a caterer in Hollywood. And so typically is involved in very highfalutin parties and big events and things of that nature, and gets tangled up within that. So I always thought that was a great premise, and Geraldine did a wonderful job of making the Hollywood weirdness part of the story.
I really like Sherry Harris's Sarah Winston mysteries, where the protagonist is she helps organize garage sales, which is, a really difficult thing to imagine tying into murder, but Sherry does it really skillfully, and she's a really funny writer too. So the stories are always engaging and the characters are warm. And then, somebody gets, pierced in the eyeball with a used ski pole or something.
I just finished reading The Thursday Murder Club that was just released in the UK in August, and it's really hot. And it's about these 4 retired individuals. I'm not going to call them old people. Retired individuals living in a retirement community that, to amuse themselves, they, investigate cold cases, but then someone they know is murdered right there in front of them. And so they're often running, and it's just so charming, and so it's witty, and it's whimsical, and it's light, but it's not so much cozy as traditional, because it's British, got a real British flavor to it. And the audio is really good, because the the woman who narrates it is really good at bringing out the humor.
Keenan, I just read that book too, The Thursday Murder Club, and I thought it was delightful. It's hard to put down, and none of these older people, and I heard someone use a term recently, they said don't call them older people, call them seasoned people.
Seasoned. I'm seasoned.
Seasoned.
All the seasoning took the color out of my hair.
Yes. Is anybody that you need to to feel sorry for or feel bad about? They all are living very interesting, funny, vibrant, interactive lives, even though they are in this retirement community. So that I would recommend that one also.
Something Ed said, this is just an aside. I had a casual meeting with a producer that did the movies for the Hallmark Mystery Channel. And it was very interesting how they chose certain series. It seemed like they were actually going for what was trending. Like, for instance, garage sales. This producer noticed was very popular, especially in Middle America. So he just started going on Amazon and searching for garage sale mysteries.
Wow.
And that's how we kind of, select. So, and then he was a friend of a friend. So, but I think he had, figured out like gardening was like popular. So, he wanted, and then I think Crazy Rich Asians has just come out. So I think, normally, like for me, it's always a challenge, especially in the past, if you have a person of color, especially, anyway, this is an older Asian American character. But I think but then they had very prescribed, it had to be like a 30-something-year-old woman you know, so my character Moss couldn't be the lead. He had to be the sidekick. And it was like, yeah, it wouldn't have worked out. But I thought it was fascinating that that's how decisions were kind of being made. Why don't you, we have only like, why don't you all tell us what are you working on now? And we'll start off with Joyce. I'm thinking of Dell. So
Okay.
let's start off with Joyce and let's go around.
Okay. Well, indeed, that is what I'm working on right now. I've written a full-length novel featuring Delver Halden. It's called The Valley, and it is set in 1960 in the area that became Silicon Valley. I grew up in San Jose and, you know, remember it for when it was all orchards. And so anyway, it just struck me as an area that might be an interesting setting for a crime novel. So my agent is shopping it around, and we'll see what happens. And in the meantime, I'm working on the sequel because, of course, you know, once your first book sells, you want to be, you know, to have a sequel ready to go, because as I learned the hard way with my first series, that, you know, you don't want to be out there trying to promote the first book and also be under pressure to get the second book in on your deadline. So that's what I'm working on.
Like I mentioned in my intro, my next book, They're Gone's coming out in about a month. So right now it's a lot of nonfiction, you know, the essays that replacing that tie into the book's themes, the obligatory crime reads publication day essay, stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, in the next 39 hours, book 6. That's what I'm doing. Clock's ticking. So finishing up book 6, and it'll be right under the wire, and then of course rewrites on book 6 once the editor gets her brilliant mind set to that. So, but next I'd like to write a standalone because you know, sort of to Ed's point, you know, series are a lot of fun. They're tremendous fun, but I kind of like to turn it around and write a standalone and you know, switch it. This latest book was in third person, and so I'm eager to kind of take on a multiple viewpoint standalone thriller and see how that goes.
I just finished, well, I didn't just finish, I worked on it for years, an historical set in the Berkshires during the Gilded Age, and my agent is shopping that around. And to amuse myself when all this hit, I decided I wanted to do a standalone, something really exciting. So I'm doing something in San Francisco, set in contemporary times, kind of a legal thriller. My character, I spent an hour looking for the correct car for her, so I'm seeing all these ads come up on Facebook for bright yellow and BMW M4. And she has a really cool loft in Soma, and you know, and so that's it. And she has a really cool office in Jackson Square, and yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that.
I've been going in a couple of different directions. My first one, which is a financial thriller, I do want to continue with that series. I've also been working on a second novel that is a different set of characters, and this is also a female protagonist, but she is in public relations and particularly social media, and she's working on that. And I've also written 6 short stories in the past 3 years. 4 of them are either already out or have been accepted to be published, and the other 2 I am submitting to various contests and won't hear anything until next year. But it's kind of fun doing both. I never thought of myself as a short story writer. And my Sisters in Crime group, and we're here in Virginia, we did an anthology, Deadly Southern Charm. My Sisters in Crime group was soliciting short stories from all of us. And once I wrote one, I thought, oh, I know didn't think I could do this, and maybe this is okay. So I figured it would give me a little bit more inventory. I'd have some inventory of short stories and some inventory of novels so that I would have more to offer to readers.
Oh, and I'm working right now on rewrite, so I'm sympathetic, Glenn. And my novel, Clark and Division, it's a historical set in 1944 Chicago, will be out next August. And Dell, there's another Dell. What's with all these Dells? Dell asks.
Heathers everywhere.
Yeah, it's just like Heathers. Anybody else have the entrepreneur as hero? And I guess Dell is saying that a lot of times they're depicted as very greedy and selfish, whatever. I do have a secondary character in my Hawaii series, the Leilani Santiago series, Sean Cohen, who is from Silicon Valley and is a young guy who has a lot of money and buys the property where my lead character's shave ice stand is located, and everyone's very suspicious of him, but it turns out he's not a bad guy at all. Anybody else can think of entrepreneurs?
I haven't had one. No, I was trying to think of, there's occasionally there's traditionals with like real estate agents and the like, which is it's a good one for meeting lots of people. But the entrepreneur, I don't think of an example right off the top of my head.
Maybe Michael Sears. There's two Michael Sears. One's based in New York. His first novel, Black Friday, dealt with a Wall Street, kind of a Wall Street financier who had fallen on hard times. His stuff, I really like his stuff. So.
Well, Dell's asking, I'm wondering if Dell has written a mystery with an entrepreneur. Anyway, Dell asked, because it doesn't sell. I'll be perfectly frank. I think right now it's just difficult. Like, we have a jaundiced view a little bit right now, especially regarding like internet entrepreneurs. And also I think towards law enforcement. So in that way, us having amateur sleuths to solve the crime, I think is a good thing in this particular climate, because I think people are looking for ordinary people to kind of save the day. So with that, I think we have 2 more minutes. Anybody? Any one last? Okay, you all get. Why don't all of you just give us one word for how you're feeling, or your mysteries, or whatever. So let's start with Joyce. Give us one word.
Oh my goodness. Well, hearing what you were saying about, entrepreneurs and everything, and the word that came to my mind immediately was cozy. Cozies are so big right now because, everyone wants comfort. Maybe comfort is the word.
Ed, one word, anything.
Distrust.
Okay. Francis, one word.
Energized. After having seen all of these panels and listened to all these presentations, I'm ready to do a lot more writing. I'm energized.
Right.
And then Keenan and Glen, give us your words.
Hope.
For me, blinders. Just
Yeah.
what it is right now.
Well,
I'll take those off in a couple of days.
I'm going to end the panel. There's a link to the Sacramento channel. I guess this whole thing's going to, not our panel, but VoucherCon's going to be on the Sacramento channel. So look for it. It'll be on later on today. The link should be on the chat. It's at the very top. After, it's not at the very top. But anyway, there's a link here. I'll try to copy it so you can go to it. But watch that, and there it is. Thank you, GM. So I want to thank all our panelists for playing along, and thank you all for coming. We really appreciate
Everyone.
it. And see you, hopefully
You
we hope
too.
to see people in person.
Yeah.
Someday
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.
Noah, 2021.
Thank you,
Yes.
Naomi. for setting this whole thing up.
Yes.
Thank you,
so
Naomi. It
much.
was fun.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your voucher con.